Hello F11 members and welcome to the post-production video tutorials for issue 90, July 2019. So this is La Rock of Solutre in southern Burgundy. A fabulous shoot with really dramatic light, particularly made by that really heavy, interesting sky. You can read all about that shoot and that leg of the trip in this month's What's in a Feature. But let's work through the post-production on this picture. So here in Lightroom, I'm just going to hit G to take me back to Gridview. And what I did was I used my tilt and shift lens, 24mm tilt and shift lens, to make a moderate panorama with the lens racked to the left here, starting with these exposures here, these three ones here, and then with the camera, with the lens racked into the middle. So these three exposures here, and then racked to the right to make these three exposures here, and then this is the end result. But let's start with the merging of the images then. So I'm just going to select those 9 frames to be merged, and it's all of these apart from that one, which has already been done. Okay, so now I go up here to on the top bar, right at the top of my screen, it says photo, and then in the drop down menu here, photo merge, and I'm going to go HDR Panorama. So I'm clicking on that, and this box comes up and it's going to do a panorama, HDR Panorama preview for me. So while it's munching on that, I'll just pause it. So while this is doing, by the way, can you notice here I've got auto crop and auto settings clicked on. Now whether you do that on or off is a matter of taste. There's pros and cons for going either way. And whatever you do, it's not binding. We can always come back and adjust both the crop and the settings subsequently. And you can see it's automatically selected a cylindrical projection here. And this is what comes up. As you can see, I was using a polarizing filter, and with the lens at maximum shift with the filter, you start to get a little bit of vignetting in the corners of the image, but that's okay. I allowed for that, so we're going to crop those out. So I'm going to just move on and select merge now. Again, I'll just pause you while it's munching on that. You can see up here in the status bar top left, it's showing you the how it's doing. And here it's made this panorama. It's just still working on it, and there, it's finished. So let's just open that up in the develop module and have a look at it. Now, because I had auto settings clicked in the merge menu, Lightroom's made some fairly extreme decisions about how to merge this image, exposure merge this image, which the end product on the screen looks good, but I always think that I really don't want Lightroom telling me what I should do. So I'm actually going to go back, and just by clicking on import here, it takes it back to basics, back. Just the merge done, quite a radically different looking picture, and we're going to start working on this. So first thing I'm going to do is crop it, and we're going to come out so that I lose that cropping on the right there, and I'm actually going to bring it in quite a bit there. Now I'm looking at that rock there, and I'm thinking I'd quite like it to be almost on a third, really. I don't believe in subscribing religiously to the rule of thirds, but I think sometimes it works. But I clearly need to keep an eye on this vignetting on the right here. But if you look at how that cloud, excuse me, is in the frame there, I think that's cropped well there. I'm quite liking that composition, and the way the shade here is around this edge here. That's working well. Let's just bring the sky in a bit to lose the white bits, top and bottom. And that's my crop done, I think. Yes, that's going to be I've still got a little bit of vignetting top right here, but I can probably take care of that later. Okay, so next thing I do, as always, when I'm looking at a picture is looking at my black and my white points. You can see here I've got clipping of the shadows there, but my brightest point in the picture is not quite a white. So let's start with the whites. Hold down the Alt key, move the white point to the right until I start clipping some whites there in the sky. And I can, quite radical improvement on the whites there, plus 49. Okay, that sky's got real drama and we really want to make the most of it, so what next? Well, blacks need attention, clearly. My shadows are blocking in. So let's deal with that now by just sliding the shadows to the right quite a way until you can see up here, the blue up there tells me going out, losing, and tells me that I've recovered those shadows. Do you know, sometimes I think the odd little black is not the worst thing in the world, so I don't want to boost my shadows so much that they look grey or wishy-washy. So, but nevertheless, we've made quite an impact on this picture already. It would be tempting with a landscape like this to use the dehaze slider, but I think the light had so much clarity anyways. The distant views, the amount of rain in the atmosphere meant the visibility was superb. So I'm not going to touch that dehaze slider. It does tend to make the colors go all weird. Excuse me, I'm just going to get some water. Okay, so what next? I want to actually darken down the sky a little bit and lighten up the landscape. So how am I going to do that? Well, one of my favorite tools, the Grad Tool. So let's look at that first of all for the sky. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key, so I've got a perfectly level grad here. And then what I'm going to do is pull back the highlights in my grad there. That's really brought some oomph into the sky, hasn't it? It's great, actually, without really affecting the landscape at all. So I'm pretty pleased with that. Could come back maybe just a touch on the exposure there, only to about minus 16. That looks great, doesn't it? I'm just going to fine tune that by coming here down to here, show selected mask overlay, and I want to brush away the top of the tour there that it's working on. I only want to darken the sky, not really the landscapes. So I come to brush and come down here to erase, and now adjust the size of my brush. That's my Wacom graphics tablet there in operation, and then I'm brushing away the red bit here, which the red bit is only showing me where the selection is being made, where the Grad Tool is actually operating. So at the moment I'm not really doing, the red is just an indicator helping me select just the landscape area. Okay, now I click off there, and so that's worked well. I'm pretty pleased with that, so I'm going to click on done. But I think the foreground here is just a bit too dingy, so I'm going to use the Grad Tool. Could use the adjustment brush. It's a moot point, which it would be more applicable in this situation, and drag the grad up from the bottom, again holding the Shift key so that I have a completely level grad. Take it in from here. And then I'm just going to boost the shadows here. And come up a touch on the exposure. And that's really lifted the image. But this time, what I'm going to do is again fine-tune the area of the selection, but instead of erasing, I'm going to add to the area of the selection. So I'm going to click on brush, and I'm going to paint again, use my paintbrush here to actually increase the area that is being selected. Okay, right up to the tree line really here. This really, you know, it's doing the same as the adjustment brush really. There's many ways to do this, but this will work fine, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so again, that red is only showing me the area I've selected where these adjustments are going to be applied. So let's just click off that mask overlay here, and then it shows me the area that it shows me my adjustments, and I'm pretty pleased with that. Click on done. Looks believable. That sky's got real drama. We've got good shadow detail. We've got some rich blacks as well. The histogram is telling me I've got a complete range of tones, from a nice dense black through to a completely crisp white highlight. I'm just going to add just a touch of vibrance, a teaspoonful or so, about +10, +9 in fact. It's about right. And what else do I want to do to this picture? Well, I'm going to take out in Photoshop that little sign there and a few distractions here, but apart from that, this picture is done. All really in Lightroom using the Grad Tool, and just making sure that the area we've selected is the area we want to work on. Okay, hope that was of use to you, and we'll carry on in part 2.